related to what Chris was talking about. I'm just trying to find it.
Okay.
A couple of tweets.
We are live. Hello.
Oh, we are
back.
We're live.
We're
We have
live.
a nice little gentlemanly debate today. Actually, you know what? While we're waiting for the guys, I do have something that I would like to discuss, or just at least go through.
Go ahead, you got it.
Somebody yesterday in the chat was, I guess, I don't know if they were joking around, but they were like, "Oh, hey, hold on, you hear the Ioniq commercial?"
No, I didn't hear it.
Every time I get this freaking Hyundai Ioniq 6 commercial from you.
They're trying to get you to buy it, bro.
Trying to get me to buy
Carlos,
it.
You making money off Tesla stock? You can buy another car.
No, someone asked me in the chat yesterday. I don't know if they were joking or not, but they were like, "Oh, Carlos has to tell us what his skin cream secrets are." And I actually do have like products. So I was taking a shower before I came here, and I brought my products. So if anyone's interested,
hey, let's do it. Let's go through it.
If anyone's interested, this is what I use. First of all, here I have the links too. Okay. So first of all, I wash my face with this. I can't say enough good things about this company. It's called Kiehl's. Some of the ladies in the chat have heard it, called Kiehl's. They make the most amazing face creams. I dated a girl that used it, and when I was single and mingling around, I would, the girls' houses that I was dating, I always saw a product from this company there, like the hot ones. So yeah. I would recommend it. This is a cucumber herbal cleansing cream, and I use one of these to clean my face.
What's the ticker? Everyone's like, "What's the stock?"
I looked it up. It's L'Oreal, unfortunately.
Which L'Oreal.
I actually thought about. Yeah, they bought them out. Here, I'm gonna share my screen for a second. Let me see. Share.
Christopher Patel, thank you for being here.
I caught the tail end of that. I was like, is Carlos sharing his Patrick Bateman routine with you? You guys know who that is?
Sharing my Patrick Bateman.
You don't know who that is? The guy from American Psycho, Chris Bale. He played him, and so there was like this whole routine that he does in the morning, like where he gets up, he works out, and then he has like 5 different types of like facial cleaners, and then he goes off to work and plots on killing women.
All right. Well, with the exception of killing women, except like in the heart, of course. This is what I use. So I use this to wash my face. It's a cucumber herbal cleansing conditioner. It's fucking awesome. And then after that, I use this like deep cleaning foam face wash. It's amazing. They're a little expensive, but I gotta say the results speak for themselves. So this is where I get them. They're fantastic. I would totally recommend them. And then what I use to actually clean my face are these little, that's applicator. So you know how girls have toiletries? This is a company called Toiletries. It's all just like bathroom stuff for men. Really, I can't recommend it enough. They have.
Is that going to be our first sponsor?
I would totally back this company. I think I got this packet. So it comes with this. It comes with like a back scrubber, and it comes with a body scrubber. What's great about these is like when you apply like the soap to it, it never falls out of it, so you don't waste any. They're just awesome, and they really get into the skin.
All right, I'll look into them, man. I definitely need to like up my skin routine,
bro. Like it totally upped my game, and I feel a lot better. And then something that I was turned on to for like body wash and shampoo is this company called Lumen. Here, I'll stop sharing for a second. This stuff.
Keratin shampoo.
It's a shampoo. They make a body wash and stuff. If you share the screen.
Do you shampoo often, like once a week, or
it depends. I mean, if you go to the gym, you kind of have to.
Yeah.
Right? But it depends. Sometimes you can, take a shower and just like not wash your hair. Just because like I have long hair, you don't want it to get too dry. But like, this company is also really great. They have like a subscription service, so you can order like a bottle or 2 bottles of these. A bottle of this, a bottle of the body wash. They have a conditioner, and then it just comes every month. So it's like it's made it like absolutely bulletproof. And I mean, I got to say, like the results, when we talk about results speak for themselves, my wife loves it.
Now, Carlos, here's the question. Do you think your ability to have a skincare routine, which is, I think, a little rare in guys, influenced by you caring more about your skin or you being in Los Angeles? Which one would you?
No, it's just about general health. I think some of it is like, as I crossed like 40 and went to like 45, I'm realizing like, I'm probably not going to look better than I do now in 10 years. And I want to maintain it. I want to actually look my best. This is part of why I push people to go and work out and exercise. Because it's like look, we're not all as attractive as the other. We don't all have as much status as the other. We don't all have as much money as the other. But one thing you can control is getting your body to look the best it can. You might not be as sexy and attractive as the next guy, but you can still look the best that you possibly can. And at the end of the day, you just feel better. It's like, you know what made me think about doing this today? When I saw you with the shirts, I saw you post the thing with the shirts. Like, I know how you feel. You put on a nice shirt, you just feel better. And so it's like, you're taking the chance, like you're coming on a freaking Zoom call with a couple of people that you'll probably never meet, but you're taking the time to just dress your best. You're respecting the form. You're respecting the people that you're not going to meet. And in the same way, like, if I'm going to be on this thing every day, I want to go to the gym. I want to look my best.
I want to look nice. Yeah.
Face look good, And I gotta say, the wife appreciates it. She's all about this podcast.
You know what someone said on Twitter? They said to me, someone said on CNBC once, if I'm managing other people's money, I want to like be respectful of it. And that's why I wear the suit, even if I'm not going out to work, because like if my job is to analyze money or whatever, I mean, it's like, it's a psychological thing, but I did notice it feels different, bro. I feel more energized, excited to talk about the markets because I look better. So
I mean, fix your hair, dude. Your hair always makes you look like
but that's okay. That's his peacocking.
That is my peacock.
Study the game. That's his peacock because he could go out, he could slick it back, but it's like I'm leaving it that way. And
no, bro,
everybody talks about it, so it's doing the job.
In 2019, I realized this fade with these fades on the side with the I don't know what you call this, but the hairline showing off like this and the part to the side. Quite frankly, that's what got me the most girls. And that's when I realized, like, oh, this is the style that girls are attracted to, at least. Guys don't give a fuck. But
I would say that it's not that they're attracted to that style. They're attracted to the confidence that you have.
Probably
having
while donning that.
Because look, like some guys, like you think that means like TJ the Wheel Deal, right? He's bald. Do you think he has like any less girls because he doesn't have that? No, he's got like an inner confidence, and whatever you need to give you that inner confidence, I think that's what girls respond to more than what you look like physically. So,
and
Kelly, bring up Kelly's comment right there. It's a very good cut. She didn't hit all caps by accident. That was not an accident. That was intentional.
No, Kelly likes it. I remember when I was in middle school, I had an Indian barber, and oh my God, he would mess up my hair. Like I would look like a mushroom every time. And then 9th grade, I got a Hispanic barber, and this dude made me look like fucking like I'm like the Drake supermodel. Yeah, I'm Drake or something.
Like ever since the day, snap that line. Yeah,
ever since the day, I'm like, I'm going to Hispanic barbers. They know how to cut hair, and then like my life started changing, like legitimately.
Yeah, that is one thing. Yeah, they do know what they're doing.
Hello, Vitaly. Thank you for being here. How are you doing?
Welcome.
How's it going? I heard the peacocking thing.
Yeah, we're just talking some shit. I was talking some skincare routine. Man products. Like, we gotta.
I go away for 5 minutes. This podcast goes LBGTQ.
Oh my goodness,
it goes to Windows.
I forgot all the letters.
Sorry. Listen, man. It's called Metro out here. It's called. You gotta be. Back then, it used to be called Metro. Now I just think it's like, who wants to not be hygienic, man?
That's true. I shave my balls. I'm proud of it.
You shave them?
Yeah, why not?
Wax the shit out of you.
Wax or
wax? Just get rid of it.
I just call it manscaping.
Yeah, manscaping.
Yo, what happened to that company that was sponsoring everyone? What was that? You guys know what I'm talking
about?
Manscaped. Yeah, I don't see them anymore sponsoring, but they're
I don't know.
All right. Well, the title of this podcast is Ethics in Stocks. How do you ethically invest? And Chris suggested this would be a good topic to center the pod around. I know a lot of us have different thoughts on these, very relevant to what's going on in today's world. So I guess, Chris, let's start it off with you. Why did you want to kind of bring this up? And then you can take us in whatever direction it goes.
Because I think there's a lot of debate going around with regards to like ESG, and a lot of companies seem to be losing money following this ESG trend because they're going counter narrative to what consumers actually are interested in and consumers want. And that agenda that's being pushed by companies like BlackRock and everything else, they're starting to actually have a negative connotation on the companies, right? And there's also a level of hypocrisy that just keeps coming up that I can't get my head around, which is like, how do you have cigarette companies, which kill, and me and Carlos were talking about this earlier, 50 million people a year, and they have a better ESG score than Tesla or Twitter or, even smaller companies than that. So it just goes to show that, like, how much hypocrisy is this really? Like the first one, environmentalism, it's just like, what is it? ESG is equity, right? Equity, sustainability, and
governance.
And governance. Yeah. It's just,
Sorry,
to me,
environmental social governance.
I'm starting to just really harp on this because a lot of time when I first heard about ESG and DEI and all these other things, I thought these were like good initiatives. Okay. Like on the face level, on the surface level, I thought, you know what, this will be good for the world. Like, we should be investing in companies that are at least somewhat responsible, in the way they do things. Like you don't want unbridled capitalism to go through where literally it's all about making money and screwing over the little guy. But then it ended up becoming just this crazy thing that if you don't fall in line with groupthink, that's it. Like you are uninvestable. And companies started to realize that, and then they actually started to go way beyond what the expectation was. And now you're seeing the end results of that. So yeah.
The thing about it is, okay, this is one of those podcasts I really have to watch what I say. Like, there are serious nefarious intentions involved with this. This is what we were saying when I was talking to Chris on the phone. This is the first time that we've seen markets have some sort of like a mafia now. They're like, this ESG is a mafia that can actually control what these companies do. How do they control what these companies do? I mean, I sent you a video. We can play some of it. It's because even if you're not trying to say invest in BlackRock, if you've got index funds, if you have money in any sort of index funds or any of that stuff, they've got your money. And what they do is they have all of the voting rights. And so then they can push the CEOs to do whatever the hell that they want. And if you don't listen to them, and understand too, they're working globally. So they have people, representatives from like the UN and whatever, pushing these ideas from other world governments. So what does that mean? If you don't go along with what they say, like, remember the video we played? You have to force behaviors. Remember this idea? This is what he was talking about.
Yep.
And so he's saying, if you don't do what we want you to do, you're just not going to have access to capital. Or we're going to have some financial sanctions on you. I mean, do you think like the Bud Light CEO woke up one day and decided that that's what they wanted to do for their campaign? That's not what happened. This is being pushed on them. And if you're a CEO of a company, you either have two choices. You either go along with it and protect it, right? And save face to the shareholders, or you get fired and they put somebody else in there. So what are you going to do? I mean, it's like that article that Chris sent. It's like, do you think Burger King gives a shit about climate change? Probably not. But if they don't do it, then they're fucked, right? And they're watching Target, and Anheuser-Busch or whatever just get raped in their market cap. They have no choice.
Let me add a depth to this and kind of push back, but also get your thoughts on this. Do you think if institutions like BlackRock, which are the investors essentially, that capital allocators, don't create some type of agenda, then Burger King, because as you said, they will never care about climate change, they will never have an incentive because their shareholders will never force them. Therefore, they will just literally do horrible things to the environment. So do you think at some level ESG through the BlackRocks, Vanguards is a check back against like companies that literally could not care less about anything other than
no, because to Chris's point, when you look at how it's actually being implemented and you look at the scores, it's like a credit score now, right? We're looking at the scores now. How is it that ExxonMobil is ranked higher than Tesla? How does Philip Morris, killing 8 million people in the US, 50 million people worldwide, how do they score higher on this, right? What they do is for different companies, look at the three categories: environmental, social, and governance, right? So what they'll do is for different companies, they will disproportionately weigh one over the other. So for oil companies, they'll just downplay the environmental aspect of it and give more weight to the social and governance part, thereby tweaking the system to give them the score that they want. That's how, look, Elon Musk is the richest guy in the world, and he's got 50 something billion dollars.
Yeah.
BlackRock controls like 66 trillion dollars. He's
a lot.
He's nothing, like in terms of worldwide assets. The amount of and the amount of assets that BlackRock and Vanguard and like whatever the top three funds that own something like 20% of all companies, it's something like $400 trillion. Like they basically run everything. So if you want to play,
it's $177 billion. There's no trillion there. BlackRock
has 10 million assets under 10 trillion.
No, it says
AUM.
I just looked up total assets 177 billion, unless Google's wrong.
That's literally not possible. That's like
it's nothing.
I double check.
So maybe they are wrong.
Yeah, that's probably like 3 companies for BlackRock.
It might be their market cap, but it
BlackRock total assets.
Oh yeah, that's their market, right? That's their market cap of the stock. That's not the assets under management. That's what I'm saying. The assets under management is in the trillions or something like
8.59 trillion as of December 31st, 2022.
All right, let me play.
10 trillion, in fact, 10 trillion in assets. It says. Okay.
Can we
Yeah.
can we
You want to
play
pull
it?
up the Patrick Bet David video? You want to pull that up?
Yeah, if you want to. I mean, I have it. If I can share
I
my
have it.
screen.
So how much do you want to watch this? Do you want me to just let it play through?
We don't yeah, you can just play a little bit of it and stop it periodically. This is a great, if you don't follow this guy, you guys got to follow this guy. But this is a great overview. It's like 17 minutes, but it just gives you runs the entire gamut of what ESG is and how it's being used. So we can just like skip through because I know the whole thing. I can tell you when to skip.
Okay, so just let me know.
News about Target losing $9 billion in a week after having a section for the Pride Month and the clothes and transgender. And wait a minute, what just happened? Why did they lose $9 billion in a week? Why did Bud Light just lose 28% of sales and it's not even slowing down? And all of a sudden they're coming back saying,
Are you getting an ad?
no. We love our drinkers and we're not going to do this Dylan Mulvaney thing. And then ESG comes out and says, oh, you guys had a perfect score, Anheuser-Busch. But after the way you handled yourself with Dylan Mulvaney, we are lowering your score and they're so scared. What happened to CEOs? Number one customer being the buyer, you and I, then their employees, then the investors. Today, these S&P 500 companies, why are they so scared of BlackRock? Why are they so scared of their ESG scores? We're going to take a deep dive into that topic in this video.
BlackRock buys Soul.
This might go too much into it, man. Like it might be.
No, you can skip around. That's what I'm saying. That's why I was gonna but just play around. See, you can see he gives a definition of what it is when you're seeing some of that. Yeah, right there. What is ESG? Go there.
Social and governance, hence ESG, issues in its day-to-day work and operations. These risks include matters like carbon emissions, employee safety, and board diversity. The system uses analysts and algorithms to calculate environmental, social, and governance ratings that are then combined into a score. So where did ESG come from? In 2006, the United Nations enacted the Principles for Responsible Investment, PRI. PRI is a set of 6 principles that outline how investors can integrate environmental, social, and governance ESG factors into their investment decisions. The PRI has been signed by over, 3,000 investors representing over $40 trillion in asset under management. These are the 6 principles of the PRI. Number 1, incorporate ESG issues into our investment analysis and decision-making process. Number 2, seek to ensure that our investment activities are aligned with our commitments to responsible investment. Number 3, disclose our investment policy and procedures in relation to responsible investment. Number 4, encourage investment managers to incorporate ESG issues into their decision-making process. Number 5, work with investee companies to promote responsible business practices. Investee meaning companies that they invested into, investee companies. Number 6, promote the PRI within the investment community and with other stakeholders. So wait, UN as in like United Nations? Yes. What the hell does United Nations has to do with the way Bud Light or Target or other businesses on S&P do business? Well, this is how they have had the chokehold on companies to get them to hit a score so they do what United Nations wants them to do, which is what a lot of people in America are worried, saying, wait a minute, why not just worry about America? Who the hell are those guys to tell us how we live our lives, how we run our companies? That's what happens when companies become global companies. Some of these companies want more control. Let me even go deeper into how much control United Nations, UN, has over these companies. So UN has powers to influence the flow of capital and set international laws. Companies need capital.
I think we can
stop
it here.
You
I think we'd stop it here. So
Just a little too much.
This is just really worrisome because this is still early on. Okay. This is not something that's been around for like 20, 30 years. This has literally been hitting us the 5, 6, maybe I think 7 years at the most. So at this point, what does the future mean for us? Like, is this just how things are going to be, where we have corporate overlords just telling us like, you need to believe in this, and that is the status quo, and what you think does not matter, what society thinks does not matter, we're going to tell you what matters? Like, what do you guys think about that? Like,
Vitaly, let's go from you.
Yeah, I don't like ESG because I think what Carlos said was the fact that, first of all, BlackRock is evil in this respect. They are taking corporations and making them do their will, but also it's a stupid will. So it's honestly idiotic. I don't understand how we should actually look into how they're getting these scores. I don't know if anyone actually looked at it. How are you actually getting the scores? How are they actually graded? I never looked too far
Well,
into this.
they told you they use a series of metrics, whether it's financial, internal company reportings, and algorithms.
No, I know, but I'm saying there has to be some methodology that's across the board the same. And if it's not, and if it's only internal, like they're doing their own thing, then it's just a shit show. It's in order to pick winners.
Imagine it's like your credit score, Vitaly. You know how okay, there's certain things that are obvious that affect your credit scores. So if you pay your bills on time, right? How many open credit cards do you have? What's been late? But then there's
I know what
other
you're saying, but it's not like that because Tesla would have the highest ESG score minus Elon's antics. So we take off 10 points, but he would still be in the top tier, and he's not.
Because, like I said, for companies that they want to, they will disproportionately weigh or downplay one of the three pillars
that's what I
will
mean.
help them get the score that they want.
So there is no real methodology because they're picking and choosing their winners.
Yeah, because
that's my issue with this.
Yeah,
that you can't do that. If you're going to have an ESG score, I'm actually not against the actual. If you have ESG scores across the board, then it should be okay. Environmental is a third, governance is a third, whatever. Like if you do those things, and look, environmental. Sorry, Exxon, you don't get this third of a point. Sorry about that. That's right. That's what it should be.
But what's happening is since they have all of those assets under management, they basically want to have an excuse as to how and where they allocate capital. So they can say, well, here's a score that you didn't hit, and so therefore we can't, right? So instead of making it making it something that's subjective, they're trying to make it something that's objective, even though in the background they're creating the parameters that create this objective score. It literally is mafia. It's a mafia.
My question is,
why anything like this in the history?
If BlackRock's goal is to get a return on capital, why are they coming up with this fancy system to be able to justify how they're allocating capital? Because if they make money for shareholders, right, then that's their justification for why they invested in Exxon or Tesla or whatever. So why do they need this fancy ESG protocol?
Well, imagine it I'm sure Chris has some ideas too, but how I would picture it is imagine if the whole world is a chessboard, like all the companies are a piece on a chessboard, and the goal is to win the game, right? You can bet on any of the individual pieces, right? If they're just moving by themselves, then you are still at the whims of the market. If you have control over the pieces on the board, now you're controlling the pieces, and that allows you to control your profits, right? So it allows you to amplify your profits and also mitigate your risk. So this is just a company that, like we say, owns 8 to 10% of every company, has all of the voting rights. Why? They're just exercising their power under the guise of their fiduciary responsibility to show profits for shareholders in a capitalist society, right?
Just FYI, I'm looking at BlackRock is number 2 in terms of institutional ownership of Tesla.
Who's number 1?
It's now
Vanguard.
Yeah. Okay,
but that's because, like I said, that's because the indexes, right? Like it's weird because if you look at any company, majority of the top 3 investors are usually State Street, BlackRock, and Vanguard. Those are the three. But the thing is, the reason why is because everything is based on index funds. So it's almost like, yes, we're going to throw money at this company because it's part of an X, Y, and Z index, right? And then they choose and whatever allocations that they want to put into it. So it's just a very weird thing. The thing that I don't particularly like about this is that this entrenches incumbents into the ecosystem, right? Because remember, all this ESG stuff, well, ESG costs money. This is not free stuff. Like when you are right now, Bud Light, Target, everything else, they're sacrificing profits to live up to this agenda, right? Whenever you come up, Disney is the same thing. Disney right now is getting hit hard because of their stance regarding a lot of the stuff that's being pushed. Look at what's going on with their market cap. Look at what's going on with the general sentiment around Disney as a brand. So ESG actually costs you money. That's one of the reasons why probably Elon doesn't want to fall in line with these guys, because he's like, you know what? No, we're not going to do this. We're going to make sure that investors are the ones that primarily get the benefit. We're not going to run the company based on the benefit of, these arbitrary gatekeepers who are going to tell us how to run our existence. So, and it's the same thing. Look at Palantir, right? Palantir is definitely not on the top of anyone's ESG list.
Can we look up? Can you look up in the background? Look up Palantir's ESG score and Tesla's ESG score. I want to know the number. Sorry, Chris. Continue, please.
Yeah,
I'll look it up.
No, it's just one of those things that just makes you kind of just think what's going on. And I wonder how much of this is actually being pushed by incumbents already into the ecosystem, saying, look, we don't want other people to compete, so we want to make it as onerous as possible for new people to get in. Like, I've seen this happen in other industries where the biggest people that push for regulations are not the little guy. It's actually the companies at the very top, because they can afford to do all the stuff with regards to regulation. So as an example that I could give you, like in New York City, there is a lot of push to do more environmentally conscious building practices in New York City. But what does that mean? That means that if there's a newer builder that wants to build a building, they're going to have to follow 100 different codes just to make a building. Whereas the people who already own buildings, their buildings are going to stay there and become even more expensive, right?
Yo, Chris, can we
Because
talk about the pizza? Have you heard about this shit?
No, what?
They're banning brick oven pizza in New York.
Yeah, that was.
Is
just
this
dumb,
actually?
man.
Is this happening?
No, that's happening. Let me put up the Dave
It's
Portnoy.
actually being banned.
Yeah, no, it's being banned. It's like it's like a minute video. This is insane, bro. Like they're because it's ruining the environment with a coal or the bricks that they're using.
Oh my God, this is it's.
There was a guy. I don't think you saw the video. The guy went to the New York City State Hall and he started throwing pizzas and he got arrested.
We saw that. Yeah.
You saw this, right? Here's Dave talking about it.
So is it a coal oven or is it a brick oven?
This is about to enrage me. Sorry, I wasn't trying to have a rant tonight.
Rant here. And before I start, this is what.
For those that don't know, this is a guy who has a channel called One Bite Pizza. He does a pizza review of every single pizza store in the country. He also owns Barstool Sports, so he's really kind of like with
He's a little invested in this. So
he's a little invested in this. He loves pizza.
A flower hanging down. I'm using a vase as my backdrop. Pinehurst. Anyways, in case you've been a little like cave, everyone sent me this story. Apparently, in New York City, some fucking little liberal arts, Ivy League, pink-haired, crazy liberal who's never worked one day in the real world is on an environmental commission. And they woke up from their little nappy poo, wherever that may be. And they're like,
Your internet sucks.
Your internet sucks, dude.
Give it a second.
No, give it a
commission. And they woke up from their little nappy poo, wherever that may be. And they're like, I figured out how to save the world today. We have to get rid of coal oven pizzerias in New York City. We got to stop that. The emissions, I guess, is pollution, blah, blah, blah. You know what? Pizzerias use coal ovens. All the best. All the best. John's a Bleecker.
This is terrible.
Let someone else stream this.
Name it.
We get it.
We
get it. It'll be good.
Like, oh, this is Manhattan. This is old school. This is what people think about when they think of NYC.
30 more seconds.
They have a coal oven. They've been grandfathered in. They've been there for 100 fucking years minimum, most of them. In this environmental commission, blah-de-da-da person wakes up and wants to ban coal ovens? Are you fucking kidding me? Do you know what's going on in New York? You got rats. You got trash in the city. You got fucking cars, planes, private planes. You got people getting slashed on the subway. You got flash mobs robbing stores. And you're coming for coal oven pizzerias? You think shutting down like 10 to 15 pizza places is going to make a fucking difference? They've been there for 100.
Oh, that was enough F words. So I would have agreed with him 8 years ago. People don't know this, but in 2015, I was ready to vote for Bernie Sanders. Like, that's the mentality I was. As I've gotten older, I'm like, yeah, what? Like, this person probably never worked a day in their life in a real business where you're trying to make real dollars, not this blue collar shit or white collar shit. And like, now you're going to ban this because that's the problem in New York City. That's going to make a dent in climate change. It's insane. It's ridiculous.
The thing is, the ESG, the three pillars of ESG are make an incredibly easy target. That's a great one.
What are the rats going to eat? I
used to live on the last stop on the 2 train, Flatbush Avenue, right there. Like, dude, I've seen some rats that literally had like a saddle on the back and like little kids could go for a ride. They were bigger than like the quarter machines that you.
Chris lives with them. He saw all of them last week in
ridiculous.
his apartment.
Anyway, my point is, each of those pillars allows BlackRock or the companies involved in this to attack any corporation or any industry that they want. Because, for example, if you want to attack the food industry, that's a great way. You can always use the environmental aspect. If you want to use the social aspect, then you can go after other companies, right? And governance will allow you to go for other ones. So that's how they were able to calculate. That's how they're able to essentially snipe any of these companies to get them to do whatever the hell that they want. And the problem with it is it is so blatantly hypocritical.
Hold on. This is okay. So this is a nothing burger, by the way. There's 15 pizzerias who do coal. But the problem is not that this ESG thing. The problem is that the people in charge in New York City have nothing better to do. That's the problem. Okay. It's not the ESG thing at all. It's why are you going after 15 businesses? That doesn't even make a dent. Or let's say it's 50 businesses, whatever. It makes no dent to anybody that these 50 businesses are going to have a problem. There's so many other problems. In fact, Louis Rossmann, if you guys follow his soldering channel, he talks about the problems in New York City businesses that they actually just fine for all sorts of stupid shit. It's hard to have a place in New York with all of the paperwork. Like anything that happens, then you're sort of screwed and you're stuck in the system. So there's other bigger issues which affects all businesses.
Why aren't they going after the biggest?
But then let me ask you, if
that's what I'm saying. Why aren't they? What are they going after the 15?
But there's a reason, dude.
It's low hanging fruit.
Nothing.
Fruit.
But why? But why pick that low hanging fruit? What is
easy? It's easy to get something done and feel like they can show to their bosses they did something.
But nobody agrees with it. Like literally nobody agrees with it. Who's making money?
I hope they don't. But I'm saying like when they thought, oh, this would be easy. We knock out 15 businesses. And like honestly, I think we're giving it too much credibility. Like there was some sort of master plan here. This is not an ESG problem, dude. This is just they want to control everything in New York and the buildings. How you get a permit to do anything. It takes 6 months.
You don't think ESG has anything to do with it?
No, but this is
New York has been fucked with all of these regulations.
You know what it is? This is the thing. The people that are running this, they want Vitali. They want people to think like Vitali. They want you to think it's no big deal.
And I fell
because
for it.
what happens is it's just carving away. It's testing the waters, and each time this happens, it's going to get bigger.
Dude, I've been through actually filing permits in New York City. How that works? That's a nightmare. Trying to get an architect to do anything. It takes 6 months. It's sort of crazy. There's bigger problems. This is a tiny nothing burger. That has nothing to do with ESG.
You're proving my
20, 30 years.
You're proving my point.
That's 20, 30 years of New York.
But you are proving my point.
Okay.
They're not going after that. So when you say that they're going after them to show some sort of progress, they're not trying to get progress, because if they really wanted progress, they would be addressing some of the things that you're talking about. They would address people being stabbed on the train. Like I literally saw videos of girls getting attacked on the train, and people are videotaping it or they run away. That the safety is a problem, right? There are real issues.
These business people who are in charge of like the businesses themselves have nothing to do with the train system. So I'm just talking about like the actual process of getting permits, businesses, all of that stuff.
Yes.
There's bigger issues that you're right, they don't want to do anything about, because those are big issues. Like how are they going to solve that? Like that's a big issue.
Well, no, the thing is they could actually go after, but these are like distraction tactics, and they're also ways of testing the water. I feel like it's a way of just testing to see what the public resistance is against this stuff. And what it also does is it sets a precedent, right? So you remember the whole argument that they were having about we have to get rid of all of our gas stoves. We have to get rid of all of that, right? If you have a precedent in New York City where you got rid of pizzerias because of coal, now you can build, understand? Now you can build a larger campaign on top of that. Yeah. And that's part of that's part of the problem. I actually have the ESG scores of like the 5 or 6 companies that we
so what are they going to when they get rid of the gas stoves? They're going to coal? Because
no, they would say go electric, and they would say go electric.
You can't. It's not in New York City. It's too.
This is good for Tesla. It'll power Tesla's electric.
No, because it'll just tank Tesla for some other reason. Okay, let me just without looking it up, guys. Okay, out of Palantir, Tesla, Exxon, Enphase, SoFi, and Enovix, which has the lowest score?
Lowest score?
Yeah,
Palantir.
Tesla.
Okay.
I'm with Amit. I think Palantir.
I think Palantir.
You think Palantir has the lowest score out of all?
But they have good
one
governance.
more time, without looking it up, guys, in the chat. Without looking it up in the chat. Palantir, Tesla, ExxonMobil, Enphase, SoFi, and Enovix. Which has the lowest ESG?
It might be Enovix.
It's Palantir.
I think it's Palantir.
It's either Palantir or Tesla. That's one or the other.
Wow, no. The lowest, you're not going to believe this. It's fucking SoFi.
Oh, wow.
SoFi has
What?
the
Fucking
lowest-
digital banks, man.
This is what I'm saying.
They
Here, I'll
suck.
show you. I'll share the screen. This blew me away. I was like, "What?"
Makes sense. The
wait,
big banks
what?
don't want SoFi to win.
This
They're
is
only running
I'm
on
not lying to
bits.
you. Look,
They're
this,
only
I'm
running
sharing
on
the screen.
bits.
I'm sharing the screen. Look. Okay, Palantir has a 23.7 rating, medium risk. Now, this the medium risk thing is about investing in the company, right? Allocating capital, giving Palantir the right to do business, both locally or nationally and internationally. 23.7 medium risk. Tesla 27.2 medium risk. ExxonMobil 41.7. What?
Wait. Is the
Why
higher
does
the
it say
number,
severe
is the higher
risk?
the number
That sounds
bad or
worse.
good?
Hold on.
Is that
It seems
worse?
Worse.
Yeah.
It's a severe risk.
Yeah, Carlos, I think you're interpreting
No,
this
no,
the
no.
wrong
Carlos,
way.
you just got fucked on this.
ESG works, baby. I told you. I told you.
Why?
Boom.
BlackRock to the moon, baby. They figured it out.
Let me see.
Wait, no, yeah, I think you're
Carlos,
generally right,
before
Carlos, but this
before
website
you
is like
research this on the podcast, you should research.
I
this.
literally did it while we were talking.
So
Oh,
who's
so
the
Palantir's
actual?
the safest at 23. That's great.
So Exxon,
Chris, that's
it's Exxon.
Chris. Right,
It's
awesome.
Exxon then.
No,
Exxon
no,
severe
Palantir
risk.
Weekly,
Exxon.
baby.
Wait, so ESG makes sense. I don't know what you guys are
Hold on.
complaining about. I told you.
Yeah, so let's just get rid of all the cold pizza. Let's get rid of the pizza.
All right, this podcast. No. I think you're generally right because Exxon is a higher overall
Higher
good
overall
score
yeah.
than a Tesla, but on this website it's showing the riskiness of investing them from an ESG.
Yeah, I think company ESG risk ratings is different than
I score bad,
overall.
Carlos.
You
Says the
you have
primordial
to
light.
yeah, you have to look at
Hold on.
overall scores per company.
Otherwise, everyone in the
This is
Tesla
what
community that's
happens
been
when you don't
complaining
come to
about this
this podcast.
has been
So
dead
wait.
wrong.
SoFi has the best score then.
If they're the lowest,
Yeah.
yeah. So SoFi is the least
Lowest
riskiest.
risk, yeah.
So
Well, it makes
I-
sense.
I think this whole podcast is ruined because now we invest all these companies we're investing in. We have great ESG scores.
Okay,
Great.
no, wait, hold on. Yes. Okay, there's the
We're
risk rating,
perfect.
and then there's the index. There's the index. There's the
ESG is the
rating,
perfect
and then
system,
there's the
exactly.
index. Hold on. Okay, so here we
Wait,
go.
show us the other.
This
show
is
us-
why I
I'm
don't
gonna-
like this
I'm gonna
topic
pull it up. Hold on, I'm
because
gonna
it's stupid. And ESG,
Listen, honestly, Vitaly, it's kind of annoying that you just blow past these things. Like
I don't know,
anything that you know what it is. Anytime we talk about anything that has to do with principles, you just kind of laugh it off.
I have no principle.
No, I'm saying
Well,
anytime
to
we-
sorry.
Vitaly's point, he was on your side for a 2-hour
I-
debate.
what I'm
2 days
saying
ago.
is
I like
anytime
making
you-
money and you
any-
don't. I
no,
understand
that's not what I'm-
principles.
No, what I'm saying is anytime we discuss something that has to do
Dude,
with
talk about your
principles,
ESG.
it
I'll
kinda
listen to
just,
your ESG. It's not as important as you're making it out to be, though. Okay, because
No,
Tesla's winning,
but
Enphase is winning. These companies are winning. The future is bright, even with BlackRock trying to control ESG. It's just bright. Tesla's going to win. It's already winning.
If
Okay?
Tesla, okay, if you understand,
If you're
what
talking
the
about the actual winners,
if you
the Real
understand,
Deal says.
no, if you
What does
understand
he
what
say
the
again? Look at
ESG
the. I keep forgetting his quote. Damn it! What's his quote?
if you understand what the ESG score does, it has to do with allocating capital. It has to do with, say, Tesla as a company having access to capital to run its
It's hard to
business.
argue with results. That's his quote. Thank you, TJ.
know.
It's hard to argue with results.
So here's
And-
the thing. I think you are right, Vitaly, that the companies are going to win no matter what. However, the discussion is still incredibly important
It
because
is,
to
it
Carlos's
is.
point,
It is.
right? I don't think Tesla's at the risk of losing massive capital because they're profitable and they're doing well. But the next Tesla in the next 20 years that has to put up with bullshit like this because a cigarette company is more investable to BlackRock than them. That's the issue. So I
Let
think
me
the
ask you a
discussion's
question,
still
though. Let me ask you a question. Okay, so right now, all the incumbents basically, we know they get legal loopholes. They have all the money to have the lawyers, the lobbyists, et cetera, et cetera. So they create the laws that makes it harder for everybody else to get into the system, right? So
Right.
it's always going to be harder for the small guy. It's just always is. Without ESG, with the
No, but-
ESG, the
but to
lobbyists
Chris's
are still
point- look,
there.
no,
The
but to
government
Chris-
is still trying to shit on you.
Listen,
They're
okay,
still
okay,
paying
okay,
payoffs.
listen, but to Chris's point,
This is
they
all
own
happening.
they own 20% of everything. So no matter who wins, they win. Why are they trying so hard to control the winners if they win anyway? This is what you're not addressing.
No, I do understand. And I understand why
you're
they're
not
trying to do
understanding
it.
that because
No, look, it's not cool.
they don't care who wins. They own 20% of everything. They own
No,
they have all the
they do
voting rights
care.
on all the boards of all the companies.
Look, billionaires want to actually control everybody like they're puppets. That's just the way it is. And that's why they're doing this. I agree with you. This is a real problem. But I'm saying we have 100 other problems too, besides this one. So, but yes, it's a good topic to talk about.
When you say that, you're proving my point. Why are they focusing on that? If why are they focusing on the nonsense that they're focusing on? If we have real issues, that should ring alarm bells, not be like, oh, they're being stupid and focusing on this nonsense. You got to say to yourself, why, with all of that money,
Control.
but why? Because it seems like it's like Chris is saying, you're making these companies, right? You're bankrupting some of these companies. You know, where did the $15 billion that was in Bud Light go? Where did the whatever 20 billion in Target? Where did that go?
So, look, Carlos, let me ask you this question before we get to fan questions. I put the StreamYard link in the chat. Let's get some new people here. I would love to take questions on the last pod of the work week. Does this really make you lose sleep at night, or is it just something you think about? Or do you actually like, man, I really am scared of BlackRock?
You're saying me?
Yeah, you. Like, do you actually think about this deeply?
I try to, yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily losing sleep over it, but as an investor, I'm trying to think like 10, 20 years down the line. Because look, again, this goes back to the conversation the other day. Vitaly and I were around 20 years ago. The world was just fundamentally different. You don't have an idea of what the world was like back then. And it was better. In a lot of ways, it was better, dude. It was a better world. I would have felt more comfortable. I just didn't have the experience, the knowledge, or the money. I'm saying I didn't have the experience, the knowledge, or the money to be able to invest the way that I can today. Had I have had that knowledge, and even just like the internet in like 2002, where we had just some access to some basic data or even articles to be able to make smarter investments, it would have been, we both would have been absolutely 100% retired in 8 to 10 years without even thinking about it. Now it's just a lot harder. And when you go through something like what we went through in 2001 and all of the backlash after that, and seeing how predatory our governments were to pounce on that event in a way to capitalize and essentially create this world that we're living in now that is basically forgotten. Like, I have to remind myself sometimes that there are TV shows, there are movie references, there are things that you didn't ever see. When we talked about like Game of Thrones, you didn't watch that, or Terminator 2, you haven't watched that. It's like I have to remind myself sometimes that we are from a different generation. So now I'm saying to myself, what's it going to be 10 years from there and 10 years from there? And I do feel like we in that Gen X generation are like this like stopgap. Like, once we all die, literally, once the last person from Gen X dies, there is not a single person in the history of civilization that was born before the internet. That's a huge.
That's crazy.
Wait,
and they're all going to click the EULA and agree to everything, so don't worry about it.
Say what? Yeah,
they're all going to click the EULA. So Amit and his children will never question the EULA.
Agree.
What's a EULA?
Oh, you don't even know what a
user
EULA
license
is.
agreement.
Oh,
End user
okay.
license agreement.
That's the accept cookies, all that shit.
He doesn't even know what it is. This is crazy.
He just clicks.
Yeah. Bro, I've never read a terms of service in my life, bro. I'm like, the fuck am I reading this shit?
Try to read one. You should read one on your podcast one day. It's scary.
It's gonna scare me.
So
I'm not gonna accept it if I read it.
I did once for one of the original iTunes. I sat there and I forced myself to read the one for iTunes. The verbiage is incredibly difficult to understand, and I would say by design. And it takes forever. You might as well read something. It might as well have been written by Tolkien. You know.
I'm gonna put it to ChatGPT and summarize it. All right, we got someone backstage.
Wait, before
last
so
I would get backstage.
I would just say, and especially to all of our people listening, you know, when it comes to ESG, that's something that you're gonna have to take into perspective when you're trying to invest in a company. Because what happens is, if the company has a low ESG score, that means that there's probably going to be less institutions willing to park their money in that company, which means valuation wise, which is what we're all trying to do, which is trying to figure out what the value of a company is. If they have a low ESG score, in the back of your brain, you should also consider that and say, you know what, that probably means that the valuation should take a few points of a hit, as opposed to a company who's got a really good ESG score. They probably end up getting a few more points in terms of valuation. So that's what I would say from an investing standpoint, we should all take into consideration. I don't like the system of ESG, but I know that the best way to invest is to work within the system, and also just, you know, keep that in mind. So if I see a company, the first thing I'm going to do is look through the balance sheet, look through all this stuff. I want to see what their growth is. But something that I never incorporated into my past, but I do now, is just look at the ESG score to see, okay, where are they along with this ESG, and what kind of institutions are actually invested in this company? Because if their ESG score is too low, a lot of these companies won't put their money into it. And a lot of funds actually now have targets where they're not allowed physically, even if it's a great investment, to put money into a company unless it has a certain ESG score. So when you're looking at especially teachers union funds, like Caltrans, not Caltrans, CalSTRS. Like if you go to California, that's like one of the largest public retirement funds that are out there. But if your ESG score is low, they won't put as much money into the company that you're investing in. So just keep in mind that ESG, even if you don't agree with it, is part of the investing cycle, and you should take those things into consideration.
Can you also speak to the fact of the risk involved? Like, for example, if you were a shareholder in Target, you got disproportionately affected by this. You got smashed, and it came out of nowhere. It wasn't something that you can see on a balance sheet, right? And so, can you speak a little bit to that in terms of how that ESG score, or how the ESG score presents a risk associated with a company that is outside of the standard metrics that we're used to valuing a company and the risk involved with that investment?
Well, we have someone backstage that's actually following up on the ESG conference. We're not switching to ESG because they're calling.
Okay,
so
good.
We can
Bring them on. Bring them on. Yeah.
Bailey, what's up, man?
Hey, can you see me properly?
We can see you.
We can. How's it going, man?
Hey there.
Good. I wanted to add to this ESG conversation because we talk about this a lot at uni, and a lot of the Australian super funds are very focused on this. My comments and sort of what we talk about at uni is, one, if there is an ESG premium to stocks, then if all the stocks that have good ESG ratings already have the premium, then is there any point in investing in them? Like, just from a standpoint, like if they've already been re-rated, then there's no additional benefit to investing in them. And then in the same token, if ESG affects bottom line through, increased operational costs, then aren't the not anti, but sort of anti-ESG companies have a higher profitability?
That's actually a good point. I mean, if you think about it, if a company in the pursuit of ESG is sacrificing margins, right? That could be a real big detriment. I mean, you look at the case of Silicon Valley Bank. Silicon Valley Bank was always focused a lot on diversification of diversity and equity and inclusion. That was like a very big thing for them. And, when I said it, like, hey, this is something that was like hampering the company, people got a little bit upset saying, look, DEI is good for the businesses. Everyone should be doing it. And I totally agree. I think every company should be trying to figure out ways to like diversify themselves. But companies, in my opinion, in the pursuit of ESG go way too far. And the companies that go way too far into it are the ones that can really screw themselves over. So as an example, Bud Light, you literally had someone of a very, very select background, and there was a lot of backlash against them, not because of transgenderism or anything like that, but a lot of people felt that Dylan Mulvaney was presenting a caricature, a caricature of what it means to be like a transgender person. Like, there are transgender people out there that they could have had on Bud Light's commercial, and people would have been fine with it. It's like, who cares? Like, it's great. But when you have someone who's overtly that, so it was a bad marketing decision for their part. But I would say this is where things can get confusing, Bailey. So what are you being taught in college as to do when it comes to ESG, like from the Australian fund side? Because Australia is a lot more liberal than some of the other countries out there, right? So what do you think about that?
Yeah, so we one of my professors is on the board of UniSuper, which is a huge super fund for universities in Australia, and a lot of investors in the super funds want ESG mandates, and so it's actually them pushing on the super funds to have ESG mandates. But the super funds, as you guys are talking about, the ESG metrics aren't perfect yet, and they realize this, and so they don't want to exclude companies like Exxon because that'll hurt their diversification. So it's not just like BlackRock and everyone trying to make this ESG thing. It's also the investors and the underlying funds who want this. But you got to do it appropriately, because you can't just go all tech, which is heavy ESG. But what they're teaching us at uni is they're getting us to really focus on it. I would say I'm not a huge fan of ESG personally, because I like to focus on company fundamentals more. But they're definitely pushing on us quite a lot, especially when we're doing stock research in one of my classes. But yeah, my main point is, markets are efficient, then it shouldn't really matter. And I don't know, I feel like people give it more weight than they really should.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's if markets are efficient.
That's true too. Market efficiency is.
Did you see Nikola's stock the last 2 days, bro?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, markets can be inefficient in the short term, but long term, they're generally efficient. So, sure, I agree, markets inefficient short term, but in 10 years, it's like the Tesla stock example. It might have a bad ESG rating, but if it's smoking all the other car companies, who really cares?
Yep.
gonna
At
win.
the end of the
Right,
day,
like-
it'll win. Yep.
Yeah, product always wins. Product is
Yeah,
the
like
key,
they might
right?
be, yeah,
It's
they might be
actually-
derated for a prolonged amount of time, but who cares if they end up taking the most market share, right?
How
The
are they
stock will grow.
pushing? This is interesting because they're pushing ESG on you as a student. Because then when you graduate and you work at some big bank or Wall Street or wherever, then basically you're going to take that with you. So and your peers will. So how are they pushing it? How are they telling you to evaluate it? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I can see Jasper studies the same thing as me in chat. Yeah, we both study finance at QT. So they just like okay, let's say you get a report you have to write, and they make a whole section just about ESG, and it might make up like 30% of the report. Has nothing to do with the financials. You probably already talked about some of those ESG metrics in their philanthropy, or you talked about those ESG metrics in other components of the report, because some of them are like, governance. You need to talk about management, right? And so that plays into governance, and you already talk about it. So ESG isn't something new. It's something we already talk about. It's just giving it this arbitrary filter. And I always like the joke of like, you can balance out your shitty environmental practices with like, a 50-50 board ratio of male to female, which is kind of a joke.
It's
But it's
bullshit.
true.
Yeah, greenwashing. There's a lot of greenwashing. That's
Yeah.
Bailey,
So
do your friends also have your take, or your friends are on the opposite side, like no ESG good?
I would say most of them have my take. It really depends on what they want to do after uni, I find. If they're like heavy investment banking, like want to get into high finance, then they'll say they like ESG, but they don't really like ESG. Whereas if they just want to get into like financial planning, or like, not to shit on anyone by any means, but like if they're not really into
They just want to be
getting into the
financial
numbers,
planners.
then they'll be like, yeah, ESG is awesome, because that's what everyone's saying.
What how old are you? Like what generation are you from? Are
He's
you a
22,
Gen-
I
I'm
think.
21.
Are you a Gen Zer?
No, the reason why is I think a lot of this is being pushed in colleges, because I'm looking it up now, and millennials are expected to become the largest percentage of the investment community over like the next few years, like 3 to 5 years, for 10 or so years after that.
It's now till 2035 approximately. Tom Lee's whole demographics that millennials are taking over. You're going to buy all the real estate and all the equities because all the boomers are going to die. That's basically the thesis.
Gen X didn't leave any real estate.
But
Like,
yeah, these guys are taking over.
Bailey,
guys
did you
say
have
ESG
any?
is taking over, but like I said, if it doesn't really matter in valuation, right? If it doesn't hold a long term, like if ESG doesn't add 10% or 1% to the bottom line, then it doesn't really matter in long term growth, and it's more just like a sticker. Unless they add an actual like,
I
we're
like
gonna
that.
add another
It's just a
1 to 2
sticker.
PE
I like that.
multiple on the company, then no one's gonna care.
Yeah,
it's just the truth.
I like that. That is a very good.
Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was just saying that is actually a very good point. In that, regardless of the sticker that you have, that doesn't diminish the quality of the product, right? And that's at the end of it what it is. The only question is, in terms of valuation, what does that mean, right? Because at the end of the day, you need companies to be evaluated based on the interests of like outside capital. Like imagine right now you're trying to start a business, or you're in the process of upgrading your business or going to the next level, or you're trying to do M&A. What percentage of your business is actually going to be impacted by your ESG score, right? If you don't have the availability of capital, that's going to limit the possibilities of doing more. So like I said, this is once again, it goes back down to, yes, you want to be hyper efficient. Like the market is going to root out a lot of things, regardless of what we say. But it also means that capital flows are going to be restricted to you, right? So which means that now you're sort of like you're sort of in this thing where you have to play along, even if you don't believe it. You have to play along, and that's the part that's probably bad in terms of society. That's the only thing,
Yeah, but you're assuming that everyone has an ESG mandate. There's companies that have ESG funds and non-ESG funds. There's countries that don't care about ESG in general. So, like I know America has a lot of money, but there's also other countries as well that also have a lot
the
of
Middle
money.
East, like the Middle East,
and China,
and so on.
etc.
Yeah.
So like it's a worldwide thing, and so you could, like someone from Dubai can buy stocks in America.
But to your point,
I see what
Bailey,
you're saying.
we don't have to get into this conversation. This will be the last thing, but 20 years ago on affirmative action, when it became legal in America, one of the Supreme Court justices, I forgot their name, said that in 25 years, this will be overturned because they were like, this is not going to stand in America. And today it got overturned. So in 20 years, maybe ESG is not even a thing anymore because society just gets tired of.
Well, I'm seeing the ESG is losing its power and its grip. Like I'm seeing a lot more pushback, like now than ever before. What do you think about that?
Well, one of my professors is going to MIT next semester, and what they're really focusing on is improving the ESG metrics. And so I think once the ESG metrics become more viable and more standardized, then we can start to really have a conversation about it. But right now, it's kind of like the Wild West, and everyone in high finance knows that, and they're just kind of doing it to appease their investors. Like most of the board members of super funds want to do the right thing by their investors, and their investors think ESG is the way, but they don't understand portfolio diversification. They don't understand, the intricacies of the markets, because that's what the board's for. That'd be my stance on it.
Mick, can you pull up Johnny's comment at 7:55? I'm curious.
Johnny. No, I was just literally making a poll off of that. I was making a poll. So I'm asking the community.
Oh, you're making the poll?
It's there. I was literally making the poll. All right. Thank you, Bailey, for being on.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was really interesting. That was awesome.
Seriously,
man. Thank you.
A lot of times I feel like I need to learn from somebody who's older than me, and like talking to you and even hearing you speak, it's great the amount of information that you get from the generation coming up. Because anyway, I just want to say
because of his sexy accent. That's why he sounds smart.
Well, let us know, Bailey.
I'm gonna marry an Australian girl for that accent. I'm gonna do it. I'm saying,
bro, my Siri, I made my Siri Australian. When she tells you to like make a left,
no
man, put your GPS voice.
By the way,
no, I am marrying an Australian girl. I'm saying this right now on the podcast. I will marry an Aussie. Like, first of all, they're beautiful. They pop up on my Instagram.
Okay, you know what? Your ESG score went down because that's not very inclusive to the other girls. That's on the social aspect.
I don't know why you guys think Australian accent is sexy. I don't understand why you guys think that, man.
What do you mean it's not sexy?
The funny thing is, by the way, I know I'm going to lose this ESG thing or win it. I'm going to win it. But I just want to point out, my background's environmental chemistry. Okay, I got a degree, bachelor's in chemistry.
You had a bachelor's in chemistry? I thought it was computer science.
I got
he's got a degree in everything.
I got a lot of degrees, buddy. Bachelor's in environmental chemistry, computer engineering, and a master's in computer science. So my ESG score should be lower, just FYI, based on that fact alone. These people don't know. Okay, they're talking nonsense. Fine.
Right. But I mean, look, education.
But Bailey, you did inform me about what actually is going on in universities, which means it'll go on in Wall Street. And it seems like the young people think it's bullshit and it'll probably go away at some point, but they have to live with it.
I'm just one sample, but yeah.
But you do have a beautiful voice.
I'm just one sample, but
stop with that, dude. The Australian accent is not sexy. It's like, let's go to the Barbie. Like, no, man.
Bro, have you
Australian
accent?
The French accent.
You need to go on TikTok. Go to TikTok. Type in Australian girls. Type in Australian Indian girls. I'm telling you, bro, it's cute. Like it's good. It's like
okay, man. One last thing before I go. If you search any country and girls afterward, it's gonna come with the most beautiful girls from that country. I mean, like, come on, man.
No, but he's saying the voice.
I'm saying the voice, bro. The voice is what
same with the voice, man. It's just gonna come up with the best voices from that country.
It's like the dingo ate your baby, like no.
Actually, I have a lot of Australian friends. I'm really used to the accent. I love it, and I love their.
Whoa, Bailey,
he's out.
I wanted to be like, "Hello, Daddy."
That's the British.
That's Austin Powers.
Okay, so wait, just for all those keeping track of score at home, Amit now needs he's refined his preferences. He needs an Australian girl who is also a teacher. That invest in Palantir, bro. You're looking for
hold on. Are you guys forgetting
of a 1%?
Are you guys forgetting the hottest Aussie girl like in the world? And look at
Margot
her.
Robbie.
Oh, I'm not gonna fucking demonetize it. Yeah, but Margot Robbie accent. They demonetized last night, by the way. They did it.
What did you play again?
No, she got a great accent.
Oh, the trailer.
Audition with that accent, or did you learn it once you?
I did the audition with the accent. Yeah, I actually
Like, that's so beautiful, bro. I did the audition with the accent. Like
I sat down with my acting coach to go through the scene before my audition, and she said, "Oh, you're meant to be doing a Brooklyn accent." And I was like, "Well, what does a Brooklyn accent sound like?" And she was like, "Okay, pretend that you've got acrylic nails on and they've just been painted, so they're still wet." And I was like, okay, cool. So how do I do the accent? And she was like, just do it. And I was like, okay. So I put my hands out like that and started doing the scene. And I was like, okay, well, and all of a sudden, you know, I'm getting my hair out of my face like this. And, you know, I was talking to her and I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to her. And, you know, this attitude came out of nowhere.
Do you audition with?
That's for Wolf of Wall Street when she was preparing
right.
to be the wife.
So that's what you want? You want
No, but I want the
You wanna go with a Brooklyn
I want the first part, which is it's just so beautiful. All right, we got someone up next. Scott, what's up, man?
Hey, Scott, I'm on.
You're on, buddy. How are you?
I thought I was waiting for somebody else. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
they left backstage, so you're up. You're up.
So I just heard Vitali talk about his college career, and I assume Carlos and Chris also went to and graduated college.
Yep.
So I know Amit and Adam, y'all talked about it a little bit this morning in the morning open, but do you guys think there's any possibility that there will actually be that $10,000 grant? Because this is a two-part question. That's the first part. The second part's kind of more important to me. So do y'all think there's any possibility?
When you say grant, do you mean student loan forgiveness?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Okay. Do you think the Supreme Court allows Biden?
Do you think there's any chance?
You're asking?
I don't think so. I think it's gonna be 6-3. Given the
I don't
decision we
think
got
there is
today,
either, but I want to hear y'all's opinion.
I think I think he should be able to push that through with executive order. To be honest, I don't think that's a Supreme Court issue. I don't think that's an issue of like, because where's the Supreme Court when we send money to like Ukraine, right? 40
exactly.
We write blank checks and they lost the Pentagon lost like $6 billion. What are we asking for student loan forgiveness? 10,000? Do you understand? I mean, this goes back to like the hypocrisy of it, where they'll present to you something that they want to do, and they'll say that it's evidence of a certain principle that we believe, yet it is ignored when you try to apply it somewhere else. They're like, no, it's different. It's like, if we can send money to another country that's not our citizens, right, we should be able to give some student loan relief. Why is there? I think we shouldn't send any money anywhere until every last veteran is off the street, right? If you went and fought for the country, there should be no one that has fought for the country for the rights that we have now who's not enjoying those rights, right? It's kind of like you can't take care of someone outside of your family until your family's taken care of, right? So me personally, I think you should be able to do an executive order and say, boom, we're going to find this money, just like we find it for other countries. We're going to find it, but I don't know why it's going to the Supreme Court. And you can argue both ways, right? You can argue that they always knew it was going to go to the Supreme Court and they knew it was going to get shut down. So it's plausible deniability. It's saying, hey, we tried. It wasn't our fault, but so we're on your side, and so continue voting for us. But those Supreme Court justices, they were voted in by Trump. It's all their fault. You know what I mean? Or it could actually be that they really want to get it done, and the conservative judges are doing what they were put in place to do. Which I don't understand why that's like this conservative. Why the conservatives are so against that?
It's a good point you make about how we've sent probably close to $200 billion to Ukraine, and like that doesn't have to go through legislation or the Supreme Court or all that. And it's going to be like, if they do student loan forgiveness, it's going to be a fraction of what they sent to Ukraine with no, approval by anybody, just executive order.
Well, no, so some of the money that was sent to Ukraine, I think a vast majority of it was approved by Congress. Like they put it into their bills to do that, right? There's money that's allocated towards certain funds and to do certain things, and they allocate it and then they purchase things with it and then they send it over. So as an example, Zelensky wasn't handed a $60 billion check. I think that's the one mistake.
Right. It went through Zelle.
No, it went through Zelle. No,
what it is American War Machine. Okay,
Venmo. It was like, like, whoa.
It went through, and Vitali's right. It went through the American War Machine, which is exactly how a lot of countries
better have gone through Palantir. That's all I fucking care about.
Well, no. What happens is the U.S.
1%.
Yeah, the U.S. will buy the equipment from the defense contractors. The defense contractors will then send it over. Sometimes it's surplus stuff that we would normally buy for ourselves, and then instead of using it, we just say, "Oh, you know what? Ukraine can use it." Goes that way, and now you can charge it against your.
Will we get any of the money back? This wasn't part of my question, but will we get any of the money back?
No, I mean, it's a handout for American War Machine. That's what it is.
That's right.
Of course we won't.
But you ask yourself, what does America get out of it? I was watching some interviews with like some former Marine guys, like Marines that were involved in some of the high profile events in the last few years. And a lot of them are like, dude, it's so obvious what America, and I'm not saying this is my opinion, but like, it's so obvious what America wants. They're using Ukraine as a way of practicing what it's like having a war at that distance, right? It allows them to practice the moving of that many resources and troops in preparation for China to invade Taiwan. This is what that's about. This is why they're spending so much money.
Is that the worst thing in the world? Is that the worst thing in the world for them to prepare?
No, I'm not saying my opinion one way or the other. I'm just saying they're telling you that it's about freedom and democracy in Ukraine, but what it really is, it's sort of practicing, because it's like you can't just, we are really far away. To move that amount of resources takes practice, and you don't want to be caught with your pants down. So if you think this is a few years away, this is a great way of doing that. The other thing that this guy was saying is that it allows you to flush out a lot of your old inventory, right? We have old planes, old trucks, old cars. You send a lot of this old stuff over there, and it allows you to build some new shit.
That's a good point.
Do you understand? You just like flush out your old inventory, get rid of that stuff that's been sitting around for a while, get fresh money, build some new shit, and at the same time you are building sort of supply chains, and you're working out all of the kinks to be able to have a war at that scale if in fact China does invade Taiwan. So the money's going to keep flowing. But to your point about student loans, a lot of that started in the 80s. The politicians of the 80s in Congress realized that they could stay elected forever if they didn't legislate. Well, how do you not legislate? What you do instead is you kick the issues, the big issues that like, what do they call those issues? Like the single ballot issues, like the
hot button issues. Yeah.
The hot button issue that basically like where somebody will vote one way or another and have party loyalty regardless of everything else. So like, abortion rights or whatever.
Which happens all the time.
Right. And so what you do is you say, vote for me, right? And instead of legislating, what they do is they focus on the big issues, and then they push that off to the Supreme Court. So then they can stay elected permanently by just saying, look, if you vote for me, I'm going to vote only conservative judges to the Supreme Court, or I'm only going to vote liberal judges to the Supreme Court. And what happens then is they stop legislating, and they basically go into full-time campaign mode, not really legislating, not really writing any laws, just kicking everything down to the Supreme Court, so that they also have plausible deniability and lack of accountability if it doesn't happen. And this is what you're seeing now. After 20 years, this is kind of what the system that we have. And it's unfortunate.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Just saying, it's unfortunate because I think if you vote the president in on a specific agenda, the president should be able to enact that agenda, right? And look, Obama and Trump both used executive orders like to do so much shit. You're telling me this guy can't give people 10 grand? What the hell?
I'd love it, but man, I would argue it's unfair. My older brothers, they've paid off all of their student loan debt. I'm the youngest of three. They've paid it all off. I think it's unfair, but hell yeah, I want it. You know what I mean?
You think it's unfair because you're saying because you have to pay your student loans, it's unfair that the generation after you gets this free money?
No, I'm saying the generation before me, my older brothers that are 5 and 8 years older than me, and that goes for a lot of people who paid their student loans. I think it's unfair that they were responsible, unlike me, and only paid $100 a month while my balance stayed the same, because the interest was $100 a month. So my balance just stayed the same. And, I want that $10,000. I prayed for it, but I'm against it.
Basically, you're saying practically you would like the 10 grand. I'm kind of in the same situation, but ethically you're like, well, I'm just getting free money for no reason.
Yeah, but I hope it happens.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing that I would love for people to get that money and pay off some of their student loans and everything else, right? But at the same time, we're incentivizing the colleges to keep raising tuition. And that's the part that always gets me. Anytime the government puts their hand in the cookie jar, not just the cookie jar, anytime they put it in any industry, they tend to make it 10 times worse, right? You had good intentions of, let's say, home ownership. The government said, hey, we really want home ownership to be, a big part of our American culture. So what did they do? They started to say, you know what, let's lower lending standards. That's what happened. And then people were just getting loans right and left. Then we have great financial crisis. Right now, the student loans, same shit. The federal government gets involved, says, hey, guess what? We'll guarantee your student loans. Now everyone is taking student loans. The colleges realize that there's an endless amount of money that's being backed by Uncle Sam. Keep raising those tuition rates. And right now, tuition is, if you go to like some of these universities, you're walking away with a damn mortgage.
When I went to my college, it was 12 grand a year. And now it's like 28.
50 grand. Yes. Yeah, ridiculous.
I'm 31 years old. When I went 13 years ago, it was 12 grand a year. And now it's almost 30.
which is kind of crazy. Like no one should be walking away from school with that. The other thing is there's this constant push that everyone needs to go to college. Like no matter what, if you go to college, you will automatically be successful. And I think that's where a lot of kids get roped in also, saying, look, not everyone needs to go to college. Your end profession is not going, like if you have an interest in a certain industry, pursue that industry, figure out a way to monetize that. And so I think to a degree, there is a racket in education that's pushing a lot of this stuff. And because of that racket's power over political system,
Chris, let me push back real quick. PPP
Yeah.
loans that went to businesses that didn't need them. Why can't student loans go to kids?
So the PPP loans,
Gotcha.
They had to.
It's not even a gotcha. I just want to add to
But
the
it is.
discussion.
But
They
it is.
won't
That's
because
exactly
it
what
won't
that
go to people making over 125,000 a year, right?
That's true. That is the cap on it. Yeah.
So the thing with the PPP loans, and I think this is where everyone gets PPP loans a little bit wrong, but the government had to make a choice. The pandemic was raging. They knew that there was going to be a lot of people that applied for PPP loans that were complete fraudsters. But their equation was the good that will come from protecting the economy by injecting this money into the general economy will be well worth it to lose out on the fraud that happens. I don't think that they estimated the fraud was going to be as high as it was, because with PPP, literally, as long as you had like an LLC, you put the money through and basically you just got free cash. And then they just did forgiveness. I know a whole bunch of people like in the Indian community who were owning businesses like gas stations, liquor stores, and all this
Rat
other
out
stuff.
our brothers,
They
bro.
got-
You better rat out.
They got a shit ton of money in PPP. They still had businesses that were open. They made a fuck ton of money on top of that, right? And what did they do with the PPP loans? They took it, they just bought gold, and they have gold. Literally, they have bricks of fucking gold. I'm not talking about buying like a few diamond
Or
rings
like
and
their
shit like
Zoom
that.
background and like a man's would be gold.
They
bricks.
bought
They're
fucking
bricks
bars
of
of gold. Okay, let me tell you, if you went
Getting ready for
during
the
COVID,
apocalypse.
if you went to the Diamond District in New York City during COVID, that shit was still open. People were buying precious metals like there was no tomorrow, dude. Okay, because they thought, hey, listen, if I have
With
cash,
PPP
they
loan
can-
money.
yeah, with cash, they can always come into your bank account, find out it's there, take it back. You have a bar of gold, you hide that shit somewhere. What are you gonna do with it?
What are you
Should've
talking
bought
about?
Bitcoin.
Huh?
I do want to
Well,
say,
yeah,
I do
on-
want to say, because I kind of I agree with like most of what you're saying, and I have a spin on it. I agree with you that people are being funneled into the education system more to make money in the education system than it is the promised guarantee that they're going to have work when they get out. And I agree with you that we have lost respect for the people that do the trades, right? We've lost respect for electricians, plumbers. We kind of don't see them as valuable. But if you think about it, some of the most successful people that I know are in those industries. That's number one. Now, with respect to the student loans, first of all, to all the people that are saying it's not fair, like I personally have no issue seeing somebody come after me that's have a better life because of a certain situation or something that we're able to do. I don't understand these people that say I suffered, so I want the next person to suffer. The point of generations is to make it a little easier for the people that come after you. So I personally think, and you might disagree with me, that that's incredibly selfish, all these people. And that's a conservative thing by and large. People say, oh no, bootstraps. Fuck that, man. If we have the opportunity to make it a little bit easier for the people that came after, what about that person who's trying to get to college or is going to come out of college and say invent something in medicine that could help you and your family in the future, right? Or
Carlos, I agree with you, but how do you respond to the counterpoint, which is you have to be responsible
I'm getting
for
to
the
that.
loans you take out?
I'm getting to that. Okay, the problem that we're having, this particular issue was not because people didn't want to pay. This was brought on by COVID. People were not allowed to leave their homes. People were not allowed to go out and work, right? And so they didn't just have a campaign to ask for student loan forgiveness. This was in response to the pandemic, right? And to your point, Amit, they protected businesses, they protected banks, and all they did for Americans was say, well, you're not going to pay your mortgage for a year, but if you haven't worked for a year, or if you were a like Vitaly, we have properties together, right? Who's paying the mortgage on that, right? All of a sudden, if the people that are in those homes can't work, right, and we can't evict them, like, do you see what I mean? It's disproportionately favoring help for some people and not help for others. So
the one thing, Carlos, though, like right now with inflation and everything, like I'm sure that one day there will be some level of student loan forgiveness, but right now is the worst time that you could do it because right now inflation is high, employment is low.
So you can
Like,
give
there's
people,
tons of
Chris,
jobs. Yeah.
you can give people $7,500 to buy a fucking Tesla, and you can't give people 10,000.
Well, no, it's worse.
That's a good
you can,
point.
It's worse.
you
You can go
fucking
fight a
kidding me, man?
war. You can go fight a war, but you can't help the people in America.
Yeah, you can
That's
go
the
send that
point.
money overseas to go fight a war, and you're
That's
telling us it's for
No,
Defend,
all
baby.
I'm-
We gotta defend the nation. We gotta
here, man.
defend
no,
the
no.
country.
All I'm saying
So
is right
spend
now,
$10 million less.
all I'm saying is injecting capital into the current economy is probably not the way to go because you're just going to exacerbate inflation. more.
Exacerbate? Is that like
Yeah.
masturbate?
Yeah, no, you just don't.
But that's
You-
what. But that's
we
what
know
was
what
done
Vitaly's
over
gonna
the-
do when the pod ends.
That's what was done over the last 2
I've
years.
done it before the pod.
Right?
was-
No, I agree. That's
You know,
exactly.
there was
that's
a ton of
exactly what's going
liquidity.
on.
That's how we got to this place. We got to this
Right.
place by injecting a ton of liquidity. But why did they do that? It was to prop up, the banks.
Right.
Let's
But that's
Okay,
what
but
I'm
to
saying.
Chris's point, if we spend $400 billion on loans, we're going to inflate the fuck out of the economy. So regardless of what we're doing in Ukraine, doesn't that argument have merit on its own? That inflation will be worse for the middle class that has to pay those loans because they're going to lose.
All right,
purchasing
all right,
power?
Guy. Do you think they stopped printing money just now? Like the money printer's off?
Yeah,
Is this
yeah,
what
like
you think
it's-
is happening? Like
Right.
it's off? There's
Yeah,
no money
no.
coming into the
they
system.
turn off the lights
They
after.
turned it all off. Are you guys really this foolish? It's still printing. It's still going. So on terms of loans, look, I think people should pay their own way, but giving someone $10,000 to make it easier for them as they're growing up, big fucking deal. Okay. We have lots of programs here. We have, what is it? When you turn 65, we're supposed to take care of you. I don't even know.
Social Security.
Social Security.
Vitaly's so rich. He's like, I don't need to
I
worry
don't
about
even know. I don't know what these poor people have.
Donate.
It's like, what the fuck is
Donate
that
my
poor
Social
people
Security.
shit? Bro, what is that shit at 65? I don't need that.
Well, no, Medicare, Social Security. We have all of these programs.
How did
Food
you not know
stamps.
such- Oh my god.
I know. I
love
just
it.
forgot the word, but hold on a second. I actually have a point.
No, it's
point
just funny.
to make.
It's just- all right, go
Food
ahead.
stamps, Social Security, all these programs we have. So what if we have another program to help somebody else who needs it? I don't think this is such a big deal.
This
And
is-
the thing, hold
Sorry.
on, Carlos. You've had your 20, 30 minutes.
Why you guys gotta get me
So-
fired up, man? We just
I was
talked
actually going to rebut what you said earlier. I didn't have a chance because you and Chris are going back and forth. But basically, the president cannot just give out money and do a executive order. Congress controls. Look, he leaves. He leaves right in the middle of it.
He's like, I don't give a fuck what he's saying.
It's like, fuck it, I'm out. Congress controls the purse. You can't just give the 10,000 out and do an executive order. You cannot just do that. That's not how it works. Okay. Executive orders, even those, the funding for those are done by Congress. So the money, the purse, if you knew anything about a constitutional government, Congress controls all the money. Bottom line, that's the way it works.
Is it a Louis
Well, they
Vuitton?
didn't with
purse,
Ukraine.
or-
Right?
I think
I mean,
war
they did with
privileges,
Ukraine. They didn't
war
get
privileges
past
are some, you have like 90, I forgot maybe Christos, you have like 90 days to fight, kill, destroy everything. And then you need Congress to actually give you the money.
Yeah, you could do
Okay.
like limited operations as the chief executive because you're also in charge of the military. But to fund the war, you need Congress to appropriate the money to do it. So the only people that can declare a war in the United States is actually the Congress, and we haven't declared a war in like forever. Like the last time.
This is what I think. I think if anything needs an ESG, it's members of Congress. We need to hold our members of Congress accountable for environmental, social, and governance standards that we then can use to rate these fuckers and decide whether or not they're actually working in our interests and not their own interests. Okay. So if you have
Hold
something
on,
like
Carlos,
that,
Carlos, I got a question for you. This one's going to keep the discussion going. Why is the government giving an 18-year-old $60,000 in loans to study a liberal arts degree that is going to give zero
Okay.
value to society and
Yes.
then forget? Like, that's a good point. If you're
It's a
going to
good-
get
it's a-
60 grand from the government, go
it's a-
study engineering, right?
it's
And then they're going to make no money with that degree.
And they're going to make
pay
no
off.
money with this degree and pay taxes.
It's a good point, and I'll get to that. Just the idea, like bring up Jorge Rubio's comment. I'm calling you out. 816. Teach the kids how to be financially responsible. That's your answer. Don't go to a college that you can't afford. I just think that is incredibly cruel and mean to actually think that about, say, some fellow Americans. Speaking with Noah, do you think that you need to spend $18,000 a year going? No, I don't think that those should be degrees. I think that should be something that you should go find the money for, or
No, but
should
that's
fight-
Chris's point.
You should
That's
fight
Chris's
to
point.
get you should fight to get a scholarship. I do think that there should be more.
But Chris's
scholarship
point is,
programs.
if you forgive loans, colleges are incentivized to teach literal bullshit to kids,
Okay,
and then
but
get subsidized by the government.
That's a different story. And back to Jorge Rubio's point, I don't think that it should be wiped out. I do think that there was, and look, we all you and me, Vitalik, we all had student loan debt when we got out of school. And I think that actually is important a little bit. I don't think that it should be enough that you feel this incredible. Like I know people that are $400,000, $250,000 in debt. That is something that you'll probably never recover from. Just the interest payments alone, like it just buries you, and it's horrible to have that. Like it's the same thing as like the reason why we don't let kids get tattoos at 16 is because it's going to have these long lasting impacts. It's a little bit irresponsible to allow someone 18 years old to sign. They don't have any idea how much money this actually is. Right.
Yeah.
So I do think that there is some irresponsibility, and government should step in and wrangle in some of the tuitions. And in the same way that we appreciate when our companies scale down and fire people, right, and they get sort of trim and lean. Some of these colleges have just gotten so big. The bureaucracy is just way too massive. So it's predatory on the part of the colleges, and I think that that's something that our governments should step in. Another reason why I do think that we should be able to hold our Congress people accountable in the same way that we're doing these companies with something like an ESG type metric. And I'm a big proponent that our politicians should have to do quarterly reports. I don't see any reason why they couldn't get on every quarter to their constituents. And this is what I did for you guys. This is what I'm going to do. Take a question and answer, have it be public. Basically, the system that we have in place for companies is actually brilliant to hold
100%.
Public officials accountable, yet we don't do it.
All right. Well, again, this was a two-part question, and y'all taking a lot of time. So can I get to the second part real quick? Because I don't want to.
He's like, is SoFi going to hit $10?
Not SoFi. You know, I'm a Palantir guy.
Okay.
Oh man, Scott, I think we got to end it, bro. It's been an hour 20.
Dude,
well, let Scott finish. Let Scott
finish.
Okay,
so let me leave. I'll be back in like 5 minutes. I got to go do something. I'll do that.
Yep.
That's perfect because I was talking to you three, not a minute. I'm just kidding, man. All right. So am I dumb right now for having 26 grand in student loan debt and having 32 grand in the stock market when my student loan debt's about a 5% interest rate?
Yes.
No. I'll say this. Your risk.
I was being facetious, by the way. There should be a mixture, but you should be doubling down on paying off that debt. Not the minimum.
I should be paying more.
You should be doubling down on paying it off while still. I think people should still invest. I'm not of the belief, Dave Ramsey belief, where he thinks like, okay, get rid of all your bills. If you have a really low interest loan that you can afford and you're making more in something else, even there's dividend stocks like Truist that pay you 7%, but that's still irresponsible. 8%. It's still irresponsible to go all into the market and not just double down to pay off that debt. So I would focus on doubling down on that.
So I would say, think of it as this is an opportunistic market where I think the rate of overall IRR is going to be much higher because what's happening is a lot of companies have fallen off. The price to books on so many companies is below 1 right now. You know, the economy is still pretty strong. So there's more incentive for the more likelihood that you will actually accumulate more money by being in the market rather than being out of the market.
And
if this was like
exactly what I think.
If you were in the bullish, if we were in a truly crazy bubble bull market, you have to like resist the urge to be FOMOing in and instead pay off the guaranteed money that's out there. So if there is a ton of overvaluation out there, the best thing to do is just say, look, I'm going to get a nice 5% reduction in my interest charges, and this principal is going to be gone. Let me just take the money, put it into my student loans, and then build up your capital again so that when the bear market comes, you have the opportunity to invest in companies and then grow like crazy. So right now for me, I have the money to pay off my mortgage, but my mortgage is like 3.5%. Why would I pay my mortgage off where I'm getting a return that's going to be much higher on this?
Well, why don't we frame this as for us? Because look, we don't know your situation. So this is not financial advice. I want to make that clear. So this is
Chris
for Chris.
Has a bunch of gold bricks under his bed.
This is for Chris talking because I don't know your financial situation exactly and how much you make a month and what you can afford. But just wisdom says you should always pay off debt that you do not need to have.
But wisdom also says you should pay off high interest debt, and 5% is kind of borderlining. You know, it's a little high, but it's not very high, and you expect just 8% just from S&P 500. So it's kind of like.
Yeah, you're getting a 300 basis point spread.
I'd be fucking paying.
Yeah, but the problem is that timing doesn't always work out the way we want. So let's say you are right for 2 years and then some event happens. China invades Taiwan. Whatever happens, all of a sudden your theory goes out the window. You still own that debt. And then you are not going to pay it because you can't be pulling out stocks that have tanked 50%.
If it was me, Scott, because there's no real finite date, like that, I would say that you would have, I would just pay, to be honest, this is going to sound bad, but I would just pay the interest, figure out from my investing what to do, and then make money on that, and then slowly work on the principal once the interest rates are a little bit lower, right?
Honestly,
Because that
man,
means
that's kind of what
yeah.
I'm doing, Chris. That's
Yeah.
basically
and just up it up, because the thing is, like, if you think about the dollar, the value, this is just purely from like financial engineering. The value of that debt day to day is getting less and less, right? Just think about it for 2 seconds. Like, the inflation rate right now is like what, 5%? That means that every year the money is becoming 5% less valuable. I would take that money and just from an alternative side, like, okay, where can it grow? Can I invest it in myself? That's the other thing. Like, do you want to use that money to invest in, like, let's say a career changing move? Do you want to take an investment property on or something like that? I don't know your
I'm about
situation.
to buy a house, so like I can't pay it off if I'm going to buy a house. It's either pay the student loan debt off or buy this house.
Look, I'll make it really simple. What's your student loan payment? Let's just say your student loan payment is $200 a month. Okay, let's just say it's $200 a month.
150,
something like
yeah.
that. Yeah, it's cheap. It's nothing. If you know that you can sustain that payment, no matter what, you have a year of that payment somewhere that you can get while you have your money in the markets. I don't see any reason to pay it off right now, because all they care about is that the money comes in every month. It's never going to be a moment where suddenly the balance is going to become due and you're on the hook for whatever, $26,000 like that. So as long as you can keep going, like Chris is saying, just keep it at bay, as long as the money that you could be spending on to pay off the loan is generating you more, it's outpacing the interest on the loan, you're fine. And then, you know what, one day you'll get that big return, whatever.
Yes, Scott, is it fixed or is it a variable? Is the interest rate fixed?
I
or
called them.
If it's variable, then yes.
I called them like a month ago, and they said the 26 grand is spread through like 5 different accounts.
Yeah.
The average interest rate is like 5.2%.
Okay, so then pay off the loan.
Every year is a new loan. Like,
that would mean that you should probably pay off the student loan.
Well, no. What you should do?
Why does that change anything?
Guys, we can't get financial advice, so stop giving him financial advice.
No, I'm just saying what I did. Like, what I did was after my 4 years came out, I deferred it for a few months, and then I was able to consolidate all the loans into one. Because you basically take out a new loan every 4 years, and they all have different maturity dates. So you want to have it all end at the same time. And I was able to wrap that up and essentially refinance it.
Because that's what I talked to them about when I was on the phone with them. Is like, hey, how about consolidating it into one? And then they said, but it would go to the average of all the interest rates. It would go to the average of what
is it lower? Is it lower than what interest rates are now?
I mean, it's like 5.2% or something.
What if you take the 32 grand, put it in Nikola, get that to go up to 50 grand,
pay off
or some shit coins,
and then you're good.
I'm talking about Nikola.
Solana.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm telling you.
Hey, I appreciate you guys. Y'all give me a lot of good insight. I go to my brothers a lot of this stuff, but even more insight than they could have ever given me. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, Scott, I want to give a shout out to you. He's one of my first OG subscribers, been with me for a long time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for it. This is a great discussion. The student loan thing is like a 30-minute debate. So that was an awesome topic to bring up. So that was awesome.
One last thing. I gotta do the same thing I did last time. Palantir to 100 by 2026.
Okay, Chris, you better buy some fucking Palantir.
He better pay off his debt.
Chris, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
That would put Palantir at 90 billion market cap.
Yeah, something like that.
90 billion
market cap.
He's
oh yeah, that's totally possible.
I'm saying there are 20 billion now. That's something like that.
Yeah.
Chris, go ahead, Chris.
Quick math.
No, I'm just saying, like, this is the whole thing with like investing, right? Everything that you do it's honestly, it's a gamble, right? It's like, what if I paid off my student loans, right? And now I don't have the liquid capital to invest in the money. Now the market could go up, like Palantir could double tomorrow, right? Now you just threw away an opportunity cost on that. On the other side, let's say you took that money, put it into Palantir, and Palantir went down by a half. Now that money that you could have put towards student loans, you don't have that. So every decision that you make is going to have a consequence, no matter how mundane it is. So the best thing to do is just everything that you do, even if you're at a very young age, if you're 17, 18, you should be thinking about this. I know some of our viewers are very young. It's like, hey, you know what? I should take a little bit of ownership over the responsibilities that I'm about to inherit with these student loans and just say, you know what, is the juice worth the squeeze? Then again, this is the other part about student loans that I hate, the vulnerability aspect. Like when you're 17, 18 years old, like what do you really know about high finance? Like you know nothing. My wife took out so much student loans that right now she's like drowning in it, right? And she's gonna pay it off. She's listening to this, so I'm gonna tell her right now, you're gonna pay off your student loans. The thing is though, when they got her with these student loans, she was 18. She was young. She couldn't make any decisions. Like this was not a thing that people consider when you're 18. All you're thinking about when you're 18 is, oh, I just want to go to school. I want to make money. And I just not even make money. I just want to go to school and hang out with my friends. You're so happy about going to school. You completely forget about the lifelong decisions that you are about to make. You know,
no one. Yeah.
Not at that age. No one thinks about it. I certainly wasn't.
And this is the one thing that they should do when you're like a sophomore in high school. This is like the class that everyone should be taking. What is college worth?
Yep.
This is what interest is.
The thing is, they don't teach you that. You know how
I went to business school and they don't teach that shit.
They would come to my school, bro. They would come to my. I got in trouble with credit cards early. You know how I got in trouble? Because they came to my school and there was a cool T-shirt. They were like, "You want this freaking card?" So they gave me a freaking T-shirt.
Discover card.
I got a credit card.
Discover.
Look, I got a stupid credit card, and back then I bought like a 1986 Chevy Camaro. And when the engine died, I should have let that car go, but I wanted to still ride it because I love my car. And I went and I spent, I don't know how many thousands of dollars putting in a new engine. And before I knew it, I was $12,000 in debt. It's like, it's irresponsible of a specific generation to give a younger generation that much money, basically infinite money, without training them on finances and how to be financially responsible. It's irresponsible to do that to kids, whether it be student loans, credit cards, whatever it is, right? But it's part of the machine. It's part of what keeps the machine going. When your MasterCard and your Visa stock goes up, that's part of why it goes up. Those interest payments. So exactly. anybody here, like even Scotty, what I would do when you get off the phone is, you have $26,000 in student loan debt, but calculate what it would actually cost you if you just paid the minimum to maturity. I guarantee you it's more than $26,000, because what you need return per year, say out of your Palantir stock, is more than just to cover the $26,000. You need to cover that plus the interest that's continuing to build. So the longer you're not paying it off, actually the more money you need your portfolio to return. So really calculate what the cost of that capital is before you say, well, it's 26 grand. I'm just going to wait for
the cost of the capital is 26 grand times 5% a year, right?
Well, it depends who's financing your loans and at what rate.
And if you've got a bunch of loans and they're not consolidated, but like really calculate. One thing that I find, I don't know about you guys, is just getting the actual answer. Like it's usually a number, right? You sit there like Vitaly has a bunch of like spreadsheets and stuff. If you sign up for our Discord and our Patreon, you can see some of the spreadsheets.
Mods, you got to plug that shit.
Bam, right there. Where are you, Kelly?
They've been doing a good job today. They've been doing a great job. Kelly, Wong.
Yeah, they've all been doing a
great job. Kelly's on it.
But the point is, a lot of times the answers to these questions are just a number. Figure out the spreadsheet, put all the numbers in, figure it all out, and it's usually some number that it sort of makes.
Have you ever seen an amortization schedule?
Yeah. I mean, I got my finance degree at UNCW. So I've definitely seen it.
They take the interest first before they take your principal.
Yes, they do.
Just remember that.
Oh yeah, I mean, like on a house, all of its principal.
Oh, dude, every month I see that.
All of its
every
interest.
month.
All of its
interest. Yeah, it's mostly interest. It goes from like 80% interest to that.
I hate it.
I'll tell you guys a quick story. So I G'd Stony.
I have a story too. So
we got to go. It's 1:30. Come on, guys. It's an hour and a half.
I'll be quick. I'll be quick about it. So Stony Brook, when I first went.
Oh, you said Stony Brook. Let's do this.
You could actually pay your tuition using Solar, right? Which is the online web portal at the time.
I remember that.
The thing is, I had my Discover card that I had just gotten at the time. So my tuition was due, but then all my grants, like some of my TAP, Pell, some of the scholarship money that I had, that would come in a little later, right? But the invoice for the student loans would come first.
He's on the government teat.
For the student, the tuition would come first. So what I used to do is put the entire thing on my Discover card, and the expense was educational expense, and I would get a 6% back on my money. Right?
No, the IRS is about to come after this fucking.
So now I got that money back as credit, but I use that towards like my books. Now here's the part that's awesome. Stony Brook would get the money from Discover, but then they would eventually get the money from TAP, from Pell, and from the scholarship money, and they would say, "Oh, we overcharged you. Here you go, Mr. Patel. Here's a check," and I would just use that check to pay my Discover card the next month. And boom, I was making $600 every semester, which is awesome for an 18-year-old because I was using it on books. It was actually beer, but books, you know.
Oh my goodness, that's wow.
Here's that.
But they stopped that.
I'm sorry,
They
but like
stopped that.
it's
They
like
stopped
it's like
that.
what Trump said, right? It's like you just playing by the rules that are set. Like you just created 6% out of nothing.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Arbitrage, baby. Arbitrage.
All right, guys.
Anyway, this was fun, guys.
All right, Scott. Thanks for being
Thank you,
on.
thank
Appreciate
everyone.
you,
Thanks,
man.
guys. Appreciate y'all.
Awesome.
And thank
Thanks
you
for
all
the
info.
for participating in the chat. I'm going to watch this back and go back to the chat again. I can never keep up with it.
Yeah, this was awesome. This is the last Finance Junkies for this week on Thursday. Thank you to the 400 people that were here, and we'll be back Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday. What's happening Sunday, Amit?
Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern. We are going to be live on the new channel that's been plugged in the chat, but Kelly, you can probably plug it one more time with two guests. One is Sonny Coates. He invested in Enphase at $1. He's going to give his bull case for Enovix. And another guy named Crossroads, who has done a lot of due diligence on the bear case for Enovix and the bull case.
He's going to see his face. He's going to be live with his face, right?
Yeah, he's been a guest before.
Yeah, he's been a guest before. Yeah.
Okay. The other part of this, guys, is we're specifically doing this. Sonny is in Paris right now, but we've also been talking about doing a podcast that would be live for our European audience. So if you get a chance, this is going to be the first time we're going to have that European audience be able to be live, and so I'm really curious to see what that's like in the chat. So for all the people that are watching this tomorrow morning, we're really looking forward to meeting you guys. Some of you guys have written us on Twitter, and this should be super interesting. Really looking forward to this. And we're also going to finally do the fucking DD on Enovix that we've been saying we're going to do for a while.
It's Enovix, by the way. Cahodes, we just saw a video. He says Enovix. I'm going to say what he says.
I knew it.
Roger
I
says
knew it.
Enovix, but
I knew
Roger says Enovix.
Hey, well, he's wrong because Cahodes owns the fucking
All right,
stock.
why don't we that should be the title of the pod. Enovix or Enovix?
I'm saying Enovix from now on. It's just better.
I like Enovix better, but anyway,
right.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's always a good time butting heads with you guys.
Later.
It was awesome. Enjoy your Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye. Or on Sunday.